Bay West Church meets at 100 Emerson Road in Palm Bay at 11 a.m. on Sundays. We're glad you decided to check us out. God has a specific message of hope for your life and mine today. So listen up.
They know where you live. They feed on your flaws. They drain your time. And they never leave you alone.
Hey, I need to run a few errands. Can you watch my dog? Again.
We've been talking about over the last few weeks, we're talking about different things that are dangerous to our spirit. You know, I think it's things sometimes they're very obvious, things that are dangerous to our spirit. You know, we talked first week, we talked about a controlling person and the whole thing is about how do we love those people that just suck the life out of you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Those people, when you see them coming, you're just like, oh, I have to deal with this person again because there's something about their spirit that troubles you, that gives you a hard time. You know, first week we talked about controlling people, and we talked about that we need to understand that our authority is from God, and control of other people needs to take second place. You know, every controlling person really has one thing in common. They have one person who allows them to be controlling in their lives, you know. And I think that's something that we tend to forget. You know, sometimes it's hard for us when someone presses us or someone wants to control us because we want to please people in a way, because we don't want there to be conflict in our lives. And when someone presses you, you're like, okay, it's not that bad, I'll just give in. But the truth is that we are meant to follow God. And when we surrender ourselves to people-pleasing, we kind of take God off the throne and we put that person there. You know, it's about being secure. When you deal with a controlling person, the hardest thing to do a lot of times is to be secure in who you are in Christ. It's difficult sometimes. You know, I think the second week we dealt with critical people. You know, and that's hard because a critical spirit will take your focus off of Jesus. It'll steal your joy. And ultimately, it will take the victory from your life. You realize that? Because when you start looking at all the negative things, you don't have time to look at the positive things that God has for you. And God has a lot of wonderful things in your life. Sometimes for me, you know, when things get, because I struggle at times with, okay, I can see everything I got to fix and all this type of stuff. I have to take time specifically to sit down and say, okay, God, I thank you for this. I thank you for my wife. I thank you for my kids. I thank you for Bay West. I thank you for my friends. I thank you for the ability to play tennis. I thank you. I just start going through different things that God has blessed me with. I thank you for where I grew up. I thank you for the friends I have at home, the people who support me in ministry, the folks that I can trust to call, the people who pray for me. All of those things I have to consistently take time to sit down and to make myself go away, to lean away from the critical spirit that I can have in my heart. And it's difficult at times, but it's things that we have to do. You know, when we look today, we're going to be looking at something that I don't think that a lot of us realize will suck the life out of you. This is gossip. Gossiping people will suck the life out of you, but you may not realize it. Because the truth is, sometimes when a gossiping person comes up to us, and we know they know the straight poop, you know, they know the inside story. You know, we like hearing what they have to say, you know, to us because it gives us a charge, because we're going to get to know something. I mean, sometimes we think that's energy giving, but what I'm going to show you today is that it's not energy giving, it is energy taking. And it's sneaky the way they take it, because it just kind of sucks it out of you without you knowing it, and before you know it, you're in a tough situation. You know, we really have a gossip culture. I don't know if you realize that or not. I've been studying for this series, especially this sermon, and I was going, oh man, we have just a gossip-ridden culture. You know, I even look at myself. I look at sports stuff, and I'm an NBA fan. I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan, and I always want to check out, you know, like who they're going to trade for and all this stuff. And even in that, you know, they don't say gossip. They call it rumors or stuff like that, you know. But it's just they're trying to, I heard that they called so-and-so, and they think they're going to draft this person, or they're going to trade for this guy or something like that. I mean, they'll have stuff like that all the time. And I'm sitting there going, as I'm looking at this sermon, I'm going, okay, you know what? This is kind of a gossip feeder. This is kind of, it may not be detrimental and negative to people, well, and sometimes it can be. You know, I remember there was during this last off season, there was a guy that everyone rumored that the Mavericks were going to get. And I was really excited because I was like, they're going to sign him in the offseason. Yay, we like this guy. He'll be good. And then somebody dropped a rumor out on Twitter that they were supposed to call him at 6 o'clock on the first night of free agency, because you couldn't contact anybody before then, because Lord knows that never happens. Anyway, but so, so they're going to call him, and then somebody leaked they didn't call him. They didn't even make the call, and he signed with somebody else. And you're just like, what is up? And you think it's harmless. But you would be amazed at the people on message boards and stuff and on Twitter and stuff that were just going after the Mavericks so hard because you didn't even make the call. You didn't even know what's going on. I can't believe you didn't do it, And it came out a week and a half later that the guy actually signed with the team that he signed with, which was the team that he just played with, because he wanted to be there. And he had actually turned down a contract that was $10 million more than what he signed for. And it came out that the Mavericks his agent told the Mavericks staff, and they said, you know what, we just don't really have a shot because we're not going to pay $20 million more and double the contract or whatever. We're not going to do that. So you came to find out you didn't know all the information. And when you don't know all the information, good, bad, or indifferent, it gives you a problem. But we have a gossip-ridden culture. We have rumor magazines. We have people that, it used to be like, magazines with gossip columnists and stuff like that, and they find out stuff about things that's going on in Hollywood. Well, these two people are together. They're shipped, and you got other people. My daughter taught me that word. I don't know if I used it right, but they're shipped. They're like dating or whatever. They're gonna be married or something like that. Stuff like this. Oh, now they broke up. Oh, the rain is falling. I knew they were gonna be there together, and they weren't. So we have this gossip kind of culture. Endlessly people just spout their opinion, or they give half-truths. Twitter is a half-truth, it's just a half-truth machine. It used to be 122 characters. Now they made it more. I don't know, it's 212 or 2 something like that. And now you whatever you can put in there, and you try to make it as vague as possible so that you can say as little as possible about the real thing, so that someone will click on the link you click that you put there, and they'll go to your page, and it'll drive up your page views, and you can point that out to people you're trying to sell advertising to. There's just a whole industry built around the half-truth stuff of gossip. And it's so ingrained with us, we don't even realize it. But see, the gossip people, they suck the life out of us in a sneaky way. It's different from critical people or controlling people. You see them coming and you're just like, oh gosh, here we come again. You see the gossip person coming and you're like, maybe they have some info. I can find out what's going on because, I don't know, Betty or Sammy is always in the know. And you see them coming and they bring the info that no one knows. They let you in on the inside scoop. And you know what? They thrive on that, and it gives you a kick at the moment. But see, that's the trap. Because, see, the gossiping person, both to the gossiping person and to the person receiving the gossip. See, where a critical person or controlling person, they just de-energize you on the spot, the gossip person can seem to energize you for the moment, but they will suck the life out of you without even knowing it. Now, what am I talking about when I say gossip? I always wanted to find that. What is gossip? Gossip is when you discuss the private things of someone you know with other people without their permission. Gossip is when you carry rumors or half-truths about people or situations, and you use them negatively or selfishly. We see that sometimes because, see, the motivation for gossip a lot of times, here's the funny thing, it's to gain a bond with someone or to gain favor with them. I want to tell you that I know the stuff because I want you to think good of me because he's on the inside and he knows. Or I want to tell you this information so you've got the information, and you're like, oh, that Jim, boy, he thinks a lot of me. He's giving me the information. And then comes up. That's sometimes what we deal with, what we feel. We have this community and this favor that we want to get with people. The truth is this, that I'm going to show you today that it really brings you the opposite. It doesn't bring you favor. And it does not bring you community. We all see, but we've never, here's a great definition I heard one time. Gossip is talking about a problem with someone who can't be part of the solution. Talking with someone about a problem who can't be or who isn't a part of the solution. I'm going to tell you, anybody know when the first case of gossip happened? The worship team can't answer at all. The first case of gossip in the Bible. You may be surprised. It was actually in the Garden of Eden. You realize that? Because here comes the serpent, up to Eve and says, I'm going to tell you this half-truth because I want you to do something. Selfishly dropping information that's half-true, not all true, on her. And she acted on it because she wanted to know. She wanted to know. She gravitated to this. And when she did, she acted on that information. And what did it cause? A big problem. Big problem. You know, in Proverbs 16:28, it says this, a troublemaker plants seeds of strife, but gossip separates the best of friends. I've often heard it said that gossip is the cancer of community. Gossip is the cancer of community. You know what cancer is? Cancer destroys by growing more and more and more and more and more. You tend to think, when the first time I heard about cancer, I thought it was like acid and it just ate things away, you know. But really what it is massive tissue that doesn't know when to stop growing. And it keeps spreading around. It keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. It's almost like when you spill oil sometimes. I think gossip is like when you spill oil in your garage or something. Have you ever got down and stupidly like I did? Okay, none of you have probably done this, but all right, got like a rag and you try to wipe it up. What does it do? It just spreads more. It just spreads out and it just makes it worse. And I think that's what gossip does. It's like cancer. It just continues to grow and it doesn't know when to stop. And everywhere it touches and everywhere it goes, it makes a problem. It makes a problem. All throughout the Bible, God gives us warnings about gossip. You know, even in Leviticus, God made a law, said don't gossip. Put it in the law not to do it. In Psalm 15, 1-3, it says this. It says, who may worship in your sanctuary, Lord? Who may enter your presence on your holy hill? Those who lead blameless lives and do what is right, speaking truth from sincere hearts, and those who refuse to gossip or harm their neighbors or speak evil of their friends. You know, see, those who are in right relationship with God don't gossip. That's what we're shooting for. If you want to be righteous and truthful, you won't gossip about others. And that's not so much that just that act takes you out of it, but it exposes a part of your heart that is a problem and that you're not trusting God for. In Psalm 41, it says this. It says in Psalm 41, verse 6, it said, they visit me as if we were friends, but all the while they gather gossip. Have we got that? Can we put that up on the screen? 41:6, please. You don't have it? Okay. They visit me as if they were my friends, but all the while they gather gossip. And when they leave, they spread it everywhere. See, gossip is not the actions of a friend. It's actually the action of an enemy. You know, think about that. I've shared a little story, but for David, you might think, oh, I just shared a little story. But for David, it's what the enemy does to him. You know, Solomon talks about it in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 13. It said, a gossip goes around telling secrets, but those who are trustworthy can keep a confidence. See, being trustworthy is a trait of your character. Do you realize that? What that means is a character trait tends to spill over into everything. It's different than a skill. You know, you might be good at playing basketball, but it might not mean that you're good at, cooking onions. I don't know what it is. Or avocados. I don't know. But if you're not trustworthy, that carries over to all the actions and areas of your life. And what gossip shows is a character trait of those who are not trustworthy. In Proverbs 17:4, it says, wrongdoers easily listen to gossip, but liars pay close attention to slander. You know, it's a sign of someone who is wrong as someone who is eager to listen to gossip. If you find, and what that means for you is you find yourself, someone's coming up and they really want to tell you this poop, I really want to know. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. If I'm wanting to listen to gossip, I may be heading down the wrong road. It's a good sign for you to understand that. Proverbs 26, Solomon also writes, fire goes out without wood, and quarrels disappear when gossip stops. You know, oftentimes when people gossip, it starts quarrels with people. It meets people at odds. But it's amazing how when that goes out, much like how fire needs something to fuel it, and usually that's wood. When that wood goes away, it goes out. When gossip goes away, quarrels cease. You know, Solomon, finally, he just lays it down harsh in Proverbs 20. He says, look, a gossip goes around telling secrets, and he just says plainly, don't hang around with chatterers. Don't hang around with them, because they will cause a problem in your life. And it's hard to detect, like I said, but I'm going to tell you, I want to give you three truths I'm trying to get through here relatively quick. 3 truths about gossip. Here's 3 truths about gossip. You want to take notes? You want to put that down? Here you go. All right, first thing, gossip never tells you the whole truth. Just write that down. Gossip never tells you the whole truth. Now, what do you mean by that, Jim? Well, let me show you. Here's a popular cartoon that's used kind of about mass media. You may have seen it on social media or something like that, or in a paper. You can obviously see it was hand-drawn or something to begin with. But what it's meant to show, what a lot of people use it for, is they say, okay, look, here's a situation, but the media can take a camera and put it on a very small part of it, and they can make the situation look completely opposite of what it looks like in the beginning. You see, you've got the guy chasing the other guy with a knife, and then you see the media, they shoot the camera, and they shoot around this one little spot, and you see what up in the circle at the top, on the right, and then the frame on the bottom, you see it looks like the guy in the front who's running is actually attacking the guy in the back. Kind of weird, huh? See, here's the interesting thing. I always think when I look at this too, that's kind of how gossip is, because we see things with our own perspective. You know, even the cameraman who's there watching it, what is he looking at? He's looking at the camera, and he's seeing that frame. That's what his perspective is, because no matter, even if we witness something, we still see it from our personal perspective. You know, we see our view. We look at it through our lens. We always put our personal lens on the situation. Here's something funny I always thought about that cartoon. You know, we automatically think, oh, it's the guy in the back that's wrong. Well, we don't know what happened before that. What if the dude in the front was trying to kill his family? Or maybe he was going to get some guys to come back to kill his family. Or maybe he tried to rob that dude and he's trying to run away with him. What if he's got I don't know, what if he's got some incurable disease that causes him to take the knife to him and operate on him on his back? And that's what he's trying to do. I don't know. You just don't know. And a lot of times that's where we end up with gossip, because gossip never tells you the full story. You know, why does gossip get to us so much? Why is it such a deal? Why did God say I need to put that in the law? Why do we know out of the Garden of Eden that from the beginning it's been a problem? And over and over and over God says, look out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Because it plays on our desire to know and control, because we believe that knowledge is control and power. We feel more comfortable when we know all the information, or what we feel like is the information. But here's what gossip does. Gossip takes a half-truth here. And some people, and this is kind of how you do, some people are like, I'm going to go to this person and get this side, I'm going to get that side, I'm going to get this side, I'm going to get a half-truth over here. And they start compiling all the gossip together. And we think if I get a half-truth over here and a half-truth over here, I've got 2 half-truths, they make a whole truth. But that's not how gossip works. A lot of times what we do, we get a half-truth here and a half-truth there and a half-truth here and a half-truth there, and we kind of put it all together, and it's totally wrong, because a half-truth is a whole lie. There's another guy who had that same kind of philosophy. Remember a story in a book you read called Frankenstein? Remember that? I'm going to make a person out of all these little pieces of all these people, and it's going to work out fine. No, it didn't. He created a monster who killed him. And a lot of times, that's what gossip would do. We try to be these social detectives. I'm going to go find out what this person said, and that person said, and this person, and that over there, and I'm going to compile it all together, and I've got this truth. Ha-ha! Why was Eve enticed to eat the apple? Because she wanted to know something that God hadn't ordained for her to know. And that is our desire. That's our problem that sucks us into the gossip side of things. We want to know things that we aren't meant to know. You know, there's information about your life that I'm just not meant to know. I'm just not, no matter how much I want to. You know that we look at elected officials, we look at people, look at our Congress or different things, and we know exactly what's going on in their life. Maybe we don't. There's things we don't know and we aren't meant to know. You know what? If God does not bring it into my circle of influence legitimately, it's not my business. And my mother had a saying for that. My dad did too. They would tell me this all the time. Look, it's Jim, it's not that we care for them knowing, but it's just not any of their business. And the problem comes in gossip is when we try to take on business that's not ours. And we try to get it any way we can. But the truth is, it only tells us half the story. It never tells us the whole truth. You know, we couldn't handle knowing everything. You know that absolute power corrupts absolutely? I believe absolute information would corrupt absolutely. That's why God's the only one that can handle all that stuff. We weren't meant to know it all. Because gossip always has holes in the picture. The second thing is this, because gossip has so many holes in the picture, gossip never majors on the positive. You realize that? Never majors on the positive. You know, I had a friend of mine, we were talking about conflict. We were having a conversation with a guy on staff at a church I was at back in the early 2000s. My friend Greg Frona, we were in a life group together, and he said, hey, man, I read this book. And he said, it was interesting. He was talking about conflict. He said, if there's conflict or there's a problem, he said, do you realize that in the book, what they said, they'd done studies and found, and what they had detected or had data to support was that if people don't know something, they're going to fill it with the most negative thing or the worst case scenario that they don't know. You know, so I've heard before, and I think you've told me before, Bruce, we've talked about what people are not up on, they're down on. What people are not up on, they're down on. If there's a blank, I'm not going to consider it to be the best thing ever. Most of the time, I'm going to consider it to be the worst thing that could ever possibly happen. So if it's out there, I'm going to fill it with, I don't know what's coming. It must be going to be a monster that will take and destroy my family and everything. And so I've got to prepare for that, A lot of times it has holes in it, and because we have a tendency to fill in the blanks with the negative things. Gossip always tends to be negative. Because we get a piece here and we get a piece there, and they don't really completely match, so we fill it with the worst possible scenario, and that is dangerous for us. People tend to, when we fill those holes with the worst case, not the best case, it's always negative, and it keeps us focused on the negative thing. Third thing is this. Not only gossip tells the whole truth, gossip never measures on the positive, but gossip never solves the problem. In fact, it always makes it worse. Just like when I get on that oil spill and I sit there and I try to wipe it out and I just end up spreading it around all over the place and making it worse. Or I'm trying to take a stain out of a shirt instead of just dabbing it. I'm sitting there and I'm end up rubbing it all over the place. And before you know it, I've got a big old mess on my shirt and my shirt is ruined. The same is true with gossip. The more it spreads, the more it causes a problem. It only makes things worse. In cases of gossip, the last person that actually knows is the one person who needs to. A lot of times when God talks about in Matthew 18, if you have conflict with someone, if you see your brother in a sin, you're supposed to go to them immediately and say, hey man, are you okay? Is everything going all right with you? And said if you win them back and they were in sin, and they admit it, and then you win them back, hooray, you've won your brother back. And it's just kept it right there. You know how you clean up the oil in the garage? You don't spread it out. You get some kitty litter on it, and you pour kitty litter on it, and then you stomp it with something so the kitty litter soaks it up, and you keep it contained right there, and you deal with it right there. And then you sweep it up, and you leave it on there overnight, and it'll suck it all up, and you get it out of the way. That's how you deal with it. You contain it. You don't spread it. Gossip, as we've said before, is talking about a problem with someone who isn't a part of the solution. And it rarely ever solves it, because very rarely do we go to the source and deal with the person who could actually be part of the solution. Now, what do you do when someone approaches you with gossip? How do you handle that situation? What do you do with gossip? Okay, I'll give you this illustration, and I'm sure you'll get it from here. Let's say I would never do this because I'm deathly afraid of what I'm about to tell you about, okay? And you guys probably are too, but you may handle it better than me. You don't freak out and scream like a girl and run away. But say I walked up to you, Andrew, with a rattlesnake. Big one, big chunky one, about that big around. I've got my hand caught him right there behind his head. And I'm holding him, and he's writhing around and stuff. He's got his mouth open because I got him behind the neck, so he can't bite me. I would never do this. It's totally made up, because I would freak out if I get anywhere near one. If one crawled in back there, I would be going out that door and you'd be on your own. But, anyway, except if my child was there, then we'd probably both die. But anyway, so I've got this, and I walk up and you go, Andrew, hey man, I got some nice juicy snake to share with you. You want some? What would you do with that? Ah! Get that away from me. I don't want to hear that. Get away. Somebody was just, hey, let me just throw this on you here. Just take this. No, run the other way. That's how you handle gossip. Don't receive it. Look, if you look at it, someone, hey, I want to share with you what's happening. And a lot of times this comes under the form of a prayer request. This is a big joke in church, It's a prayer request. I really want you to pray about this. Okay, I'll pray about it. Well, now let me give you all the details about so-and-so's life and so-and-so's life and so-and-so's life. I don't really want, because I just want people to pray about that. And you feel like you can't turn that down because, they're telling you all the information about so-and-so over there. So, but really what they're doing is they're gossiping. They're just putting the title of prayer request on the top of it. They just want you to pray about it. If you've got information on somebody else and you can't be part of it, and you're talking to somebody who can't be part of the solution, don't give them the details. Just say, look, I've got something on my heart. God knows what it is. Will you pray for me for the next week about this? I need to know how to handle it and have a friend. That's very simple. And the one who knows, and the one who's a solution, who can be a solution, which is God, we're entreating him, but we're not doing it just to spread the gossip and spread the stuff around. What do you do with gossip? Very simple. Here you go. Don't receive it. Don't repeat it. Don't take it. Don't become known as the person. Because sometimes people who have a problem with gossip, they know who the people they can tell. And they're going to get positive feedback because that person's going to be, oh, thank you. I'm so glad you told me that. Look, don't receive it. Don't become known as that person who receives it. And then don't repeat it, because you don't want to take half-truths into your life, because anything that you take into your life becomes a part of how you're thinking. Anything you hear, anything you read, those type of things that you bring in becomes a part of your thinking. And if it's wrong, it's going to lead you to wrong decisions and wrong stuff. Here's what I do. If someone comes to me and they got something, I realize quickly, hey, and it's hard, because I'll be honest with you. This is a tough one, because a lot of times as a pastor, someone comes to me and goes, hey, this person over here needs some counsel in, and I feel the temptation to go, whoa, yeah, well, you better let me know, because I guess I'll be part of the solution, because I'll go talk to them about that. But there's a part of me that wants to go, no, because God has brought that into your circle, you need to stop the gossip cycle and go talk to them. Now, sometimes there is a time that I need to be involved, and don't hesitate to that. There are times, that I need to be involved with things. But think about it as you go through it. Am I working for the solution? And that's a question to ask yourself all the time. Am I sharing this information because of the feeling I'm going to get by sharing the information? Or am I sharing the information out of genuine concern with someone who can help solve it? I think when you cut it all down to the chase and you cut down to that bottom part, because here's the deal. A lot of times what happens in church, we walk around with rattlesnakes and we just chunk them on everybody. And everybody gets bit, and everybody gets sick, and the energy gets sucked out of people. And people, that's the way it goes sometimes. In our offices, we hang around the water cooler. We say something about so-and-so over in that office over there, and I heard that so-and-so was with so-and-so and said something about so-and-so. And before we know it, their reputation is ruined on our half-truths that we tried to build into a whole truth, and we made a Frankenstein that didn't kill us, but it went and killed their reputation. We have to be careful with things like that. Just as God says the truth of the gospel, the truth will set you free, so will a half-truth or a lie keep you in bondage. And you don't want that in your life. Now, the best way to resist gossip, truthfully, is to have a secure relationship with Jesus. It always comes back to that. If I have this desire to hear and it makes me feel better to be in the know, or somebody say I have the desire to tell, because it makes me feel better to tell and people like me when I tell, all that is just really trying to gain community or a bond or favor. And I'm trying to do that with people, but the truth is my life should be about gaining community and favor with God. And when that is the number one person that I seek approval from, that I seek community with, when I want to know Jesus more than I care about knowing anyone else, and that is the highest priority of my life, I'll avoid things like gossip because they don't please my Savior. And I don't need to have it either, because I'm satisfied and content with knowing Jesus rather than knowing everybody's business. Maybe you're a Christian this morning, and when you're satisfied with what Jesus has for you, here's what you do. You trust God with what you do not know. You're secure with what you do know, and your self-worth isn't in what you know, but it's in whose you are. And that is a much more peaceful life. You know, as you go about this week, I want you to examine your lives, examine where you're at. Maybe it's at work. Maybe you're on Twitter all the time. Maybe you're Fox Newsing it up all over the place, or Yahooing it, or whatever your place that you go for news and stuff. And you're just always into that. And you find yourself just being drawn to this all the time. I want you to ask yourself, why are you into that? Is that something you can fix? Or is that something you just want to know? And can you really trust what you're being told is the truth? Is it overriding your life? Is it taking you down? Because a lot of times what you'll find out is you get so distraught within yourself and so hopeless that it'll never be fixed. The problem is bigger than it could ever be. And you begin majoring on the problem and forget that you have a God that is still in control of everything. He has a plan for your life to be a part of His work, to see some great things done right where you are. And when you're looking past the opportunity at the problem that you have no business, no authority to fix, you'll miss the opportunity for amazing things that God is doing right in front of you. Become secure in who you are with God. And if there's a problem that frightens you, that scares you, hey, God, did you see that? I know that's your deal, and I trust you for it. I'm not going to worry about it. And walk away. Just walk away. Now, maybe you're here today and you don't know Jesus. You've never accepted Christ before. You've never started a relationship with Jesus. And it's difficult, that last step that I told you about, for you to have a secure relationship with Jesus, because you don't have one. There's never been a specific time in your life where you made a decision and said, from this point forward, I'm going to follow Jesus. And you realize fully in your heart that, okay, Jesus, I've sinned, and there's something been in my life. And my sin, as it tells us in the Bible, the wages of sin is death. It means my sin cuts me off from God. That's what the death it's talking about there. My sin cuts me off from God. But it said, but the gift of God is eternal life as well. And what that means is God sent Jesus, who was fully God, fully man, to earth. He lived on earth as a man. He never sinned. And at the end of his life, though he did not deserve death, he took it for all of us. And because he was God and so valuable, his sacrifice, his death on that cross, was enough to take the sins of all those who would call him Lord. All the people. You know, enough to take your sin, my sin, Katie's sin, Kelsey's sin, David's sin, all of it, and billions more. That's how valuable Jesus was. And his sinless life did that. And the Lord raised him from the dead. And in that resurrection was power. And that power can be available to work in your life, and all the things that you do, and in my life, and all the things that are wrong with Jim. You know, and the way that I took advantage of that, the way that became a part of my life, is I said, okay, God, I believe that. I realize I'm a sinner. I messed up. But I trust you. I realize that you came, you lived a perfect life, you died on a cross, and for the wages of my sin, you said in Romans 9:10, if I'll confess you as Lord, and I'll believe in my heart that God raised you from the dead, in other words, I'll confess you outwardly as my God, and I'll believe you so much, I'll give you the managership of my life from here on out. I give that to you, and I will follow you for the rest of my days, that I will be saved. And that's how we accept that relationship. When we baptize, we're going to baptize a bunch of people next week. I think about 7 or 8 folks next week at the beach at this point. And, that's what they've done. They've said, okay, I realize I'm a sinner at some point. And they said, look, I realize I need Jesus in my life. I can't reconnect to God. I can't live a good enough life to do this. So I'm going to trust you, God. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to come back to you. And I said, I'll trust you, Jesus. Lord, you're the Lord of my life. And they're going to live their life the rest of the way following Jesus as best they can. Not perfectly, because they will mess up, but that's what grace is for. And that Jesus will transform them. If there's never been a time that you made that decision, if you never point where you think, I sat down and I said that, maybe today is the day you need to start with that relationship with Jesus.
Thanks for being a part of Bay West today. Bay West Church meets at 100 Emerson Road in Palm Bay at 11 a.m. on Sundays. Please feel free to check us out at baywestchurch.org, or you can follow us on Facebook at Bay West Church.